So the community college role really is that economic developer, workforce training mechanism, the engine to prepare people to fill those positions that are open. And
All right, well, we'll get started. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be back together. Happy New Year and awesome to see everyone. And been looking forward for a couple of months to spending time with Dr. Greg Mosier, who's the president of Kansas City, Kansas Community College. And there's so many directions we can take this, plus new ones that he's already told me about this morning. But there's an awful lot of power in a community college. And I think the value proposition of what the community college can do for businesses and the community is stronger than ever these days. And so just want to talk a little bit about your journey, which I think is unique. When I look back, I think my most impactful teachers were ones who had business experience too, and real world experience. They hadn't just memorized a book, and you've got a ton of experience outside of education that you bring to this environment. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey and some of the things you've done in your past and what brought you to KCK?
Sure, Randy, thank you for that. And good morning to everyone. Nice to see such a big group here, and I recognize several names that are on with us. So nice to see you as well. So just a little bit about myself. I've been president at KCC for about 3.5 years, started in June of 2018. And kind of the path that took me here, I'm going to step back 32 years or so. But prior to higher education, I was actually a defense contractor. So I worked for NASA, Rockwell, Lockheed, worked on some DARPA projects and international projects. And my background is, my bachelor's degree is in industrial scientific photography, which is basically research and development. A lot of working for the DoD, a lot of high speed testing of different types of ballistic and just all sorts of things. We did a lot of the ballistic testing, but then we also did a lot of sled testing with missiles. And you remember all the way back to the first Gulf War and the 6-pack that came out of the Patriot missile system to help defend the borders. We did a lot of work with that. Worked on one of the replacement lenses for the Hubble telescope when it went up and it had faulty lenses. So we had to, get a set together and get those tested and make sure that they went up. Otherwise, it would be, hundreds of millions of dollars lost if they were not successful. So I brought that experience with me. I was teaching as an adjunct instructor at New Mexico State University at their 2-year campus. In '92, when the DoD layoffs hit, we were in a union shop, and I was one of the last 3 that came in. So even though I was teaching some of the people who had been there a long time, a lot of the techniques and some of the new skill sets and things that can be done, when the layoffs hit, I had a choice. So I was either going to go to a different location, but NMSU offered me a full-time position there to build a photographic technologies program. So I thought, well, I'll do that for a couple of years. And 16 years later, I decided, I went to a dean position at Moberly Area Community College here, not too far north of Columbia, Missouri. I taught on the technical side of the house, and photography, and then Photoshop and Illustrator and graphic design and web design and 3D animation and all of that, and then started to oversee other programs. So I took a position as Dean of Career and Technical Education at Moberly Area Community College north of Columbia, Missouri. Was there for 5 years and could kind of see the writing on the wall, and I did have, you know, my vision for leadership and where I wanted to be in my professional career. So made the move to a vice president at Oklahoma State University, one of their 2-year campuses that also offered 4-year degrees. It was their technical campus, so it was a really good fit for me. We had over 400 corporate partnerships, built consortium programs and specialized programs for like Kenworth, Komatsu, the big 5 OEMs in the automobile industry, a lot of the oil companies and such. But my heart really is in the community college sector, because we can do so much and change, have a significant impact on people's lives and change their trajectory in a really significant way through technical education and skill sets for, you know, high demand, high wage jobs in a really short period of time. So my return to the community colleges, I was up at Rochester Community and Technical College in Rochester, Minnesota. So the Mayo Clinic is right there. So we had a lot of partnerships in programs for the Mayo Clinic. And I was there for about 3 years or so. And then this position became available, and I really wasn't looking for a presidential position. But one of my colleagues said, you know, Mosier, there's some turmoil at that institution. It's like, Mosier, you're running the college. You might as well apply and be the technical president of, you know, of a college. So this position came up. It was just a perfect fit for me and my family at this time, and I think for the community. Wyandotte County, you know, we have a great variety of cultures and people in different socioeconomic classes. And when we look at the west side of Wyandotte County versus the east side of Wyandotte County, a lot of really great disparities in socioeconomic manners. So I thought I could come and do some help for the college and the community and building new programs, doing a lot of public-private partnerships, which is one of the things I kind of focused on the last 10 years or so. And it's been a wonderful 3.5 years since. So we've got a lot of great programs going on at the college, and, you know, a little bit later I'll get in and talk about this project that we have going for downtown KCK.
You know, that's some interesting experiences. How does that range of experiences and those business experiences, how do they reshape your view of education and the partnership with business? What does that allow you to bring to KCK that's unique?
Sure. So actually, you know, working in the field before coming into higher education and building partnerships with business and industry, it's a complete, I'm an odd duck for a college president because of the mix, the background that I have. But it just really gives me the believability when we're out talking with business partners on that we can do something together, and it's going to end up being a win-win-win. It'll be a win for the company, it'll be a win for the college and for the students, providing these technical education and transfer degrees that will really change their lives. And, you know, we've been in a skills gap for many years now where we don't have enough talent in the job market to fill the number of jobs that are available. So really the way forward for community colleges is that public-private partnership. So working with companies to help sponsor programs, to help build them, to get them off the ground, to help scholarship students. And by doing so and being engaged with the college in those types of relationships, those companies that are part of we build consortiums, right? If you're a consortium member, and let's just say in automotive technology, you get the first crack at the graduates who are coming out because you've already built that relationship. You've provided some internship opportunities for the students, and you have that first opportunity to hire people as they're graduating. And then after that, the regular business community at large would have a chance, but this gives employers that really first look and experience working with the students.
Everybody on here that's involved in hiring, or at least aware of their clients or friends of hiring, know that, as you just mentioned, there's a massive shortage and we're in the midst of this great resignation. What role does the community college play both in helping those folks that are seeking out their next opportunity develop the skill path that they want to reach those goals? And then how do businesses tap into that there are folks out there going to the college, in your technical programs, trying to blaze a new trail, and how do we tap into that?
Sure. Yeah. So in Wyandotte County, on average, in the last month or so, we have about 6,500, 6,800 jobs open and unmet every month. So, but we don't have the jobs that people that the companies have that are out there. We don't have the local skilled talent for that. We have 27% of the jobs held in Wyandotte County are held by those who live outside Wyandotte County, right? So about 70% of the paychecks that companies are paying every week, every Friday, it leaves Wyandotte County. So the community college role really is that economic developer, workforce training mechanism, the engine to prepare people to fill those positions that are open. And job positions are becoming more technical in nature. If we take a look at manufacturing, everyone thinks of manufacturing in the old sense as this blue collar, really greasy mechanic type job. Well, that's definitely not the case. There's a lot of work with information technology, with computers, with CNCs and hydraulics and pneumatics, in programming. And those are the skill sets that we work with our business partners to help identify what the need is, what the gap is, and then we can work that into our curriculum so that as we bring people through our educational programs, whether it's a 1 semester certificate or a 1 year or a 2-year program, we built this curriculum that meets the immediate needs of our business and industry in Wyandotte County and in the surrounding counties.
If you got questions, type in the chat and we'll get you on. One of the things Harry and I talk about all the time, and we spoke about it yesterday, is that we hire people and not pedigree. And I think that ties into Mary's question. So let's go to Mary.
Good morning, Dr. Mosier.
Good morning.
You all know I'd love to be on camera, but I'm feeling a little under the weather today. But here's one of my favorite questions is, how can we really encourage employers to reconsider and look intentionally at those that have the associate degrees or even the certificates versus just looking at someone to enter in with a bachelor's degree, especially for the entry-level jobs? How would you encourage them?
Yeah, great question, Mary. Thank you. So it's really, what are the skill sets that the individuals have when they graduate from a program, no matter what their program length is. And at the community college level, on the 1 year or the 2-year degree paths, we have trained these individuals, and I hate to use the word trained, right? I was told a long time ago, you don't train people, you educate them, you train animals. So I try and avoid that term. but that's what's used in the industry sector. So we educate individuals that with those skill sets that the employer needs, right? And with this huge skills gap and the great resignation, in the last 10 years, employers are becoming more aware of the skill sets that people who come through community colleges have. So this, as the labor market tightens, then the employers are more apt to look for other alternatives than having a bachelor degree required, right? Because they need workers for number one, but they need that skilled workforce. You know, it's that 50% of the jobs in the United States require more than high school and less than a 4-year degree. Well, that just screams community colleges. And that's part of our mission is to help educate our community so that they can go into the workforce and be successful. So working with the employers and building these consortium models, like we're going to do downtown. We've got a big project that we're going to do downtown in KCK Urban Core. It started off as just a satellite location for KCKCC, but as we talked with people in the area, in that downtown area, and with employers, they, you know, we listened, right? And they said, well, we need a lot of those soft skills. We need something that will help us get out of where we are, you know, quote unquote, trapped for right now in a impoverished area with a family living in generational poverty. We have a lot of trauma, right? There's crime, there's drugs, all of that comes with an individual when they're trying to get their education. Maybe they don't even have a high school diploma. Maybe they don't speak English well enough to obtain a job, needless to maintain a job. So now what was the KCKCC Downtown Community Education Center, now we're partnering with the YMCA. They lost their space in KCK in 2018 with Wyandotte Behavioral Health because a lot of people do have mental health concerns that need to be addressed so that they can free their mind to be educated. They don't have to, they've got to get past that trauma. The physical health of the folks living downtown is much worse than on the west side or in other communities that have more financial resources, more medical health related resources, etc. So we're partnering with Swope Healthcare. That is a federally qualified healthcare provider, so it can provide healthcare to low income, no income individuals. And then we recently partnered with Community America Credit Union because if we're going to take people, and many of the adult population that come through our programs are on some form of social assistance, right? So we want to help them and get them educated and trained with skill sets that they can earn a successful wage. People will come through our 1 or 2 year programs and they'll leave, say, our plumbing or our HVAC or welding, automotive, and they'll be making $50,000 a year. So they're going to move from social service support to having an income that can help support them, their family, that they can use to buy a house, buy a car, remodel a house. But they need to know how to save money as well. So that financial literacy part is really, really important too, that they just don't spend all of that $50,000 a year, right? That they put some money into savings as they develop a long-term financial plan. So what was just a KCKCC site location is now the Kansas City, Kansas Community Education, Health, and Wellness Center. It's 130,000 square feet. It's a $70 million build and outfit. And we're in the capital campaign for that right now. So, and we're talking with business and industry and philanthropic groups, how they can help us support the construction of the project. So I work under the notion that as a community college and as a community, you help us build the facility and we can operate it after that. So no mill levy increase, no new taxes, anything like that. It's really through community support to build the facility, and then we can operate on tuition and fees and state allocation to keep it running. And we're going to be moving people out of prosperity, out of poverty into prosperity. But it takes all of those wraparound services to help to get a person to where they're going to be ready to come through one of our programs, even if it's ESL or GED. So it's all that partnership. It's all that collaboration. It's, working together. So in this one block area, they will have services and availability of services that they haven't had for 30 years. It's a big vision, right? But you have to set your vision high, set your goals high, right? Get out of the comfort zone. If you're working in a comfort zone, then you're really not working at the best of your potential. So embrace being uncomfortable, embrace seeking and putting challenging goals ahead of you and your team, so that you can really maximize what you're doing for the community.
Before we go here to Mike, I want to say, he'll probably be mad at me for saying this, but Mike raised money for one KCK student to buy a car so he could get to school, get to work. Awesome thing. But it was one kid. So I know that has something to do with Mike's question here. Mike, you want to talk about your question?
Yeah, thanks. And should everybody think I'm so great, Randy contributed a pretty sizable part of that check. So, but it's a good question because it was something that was really an eye opener for me when I had a student who happened to be through our charity that we kind of operate, and we wanted to get him a job and get him a job outside. He lives at 63rd and Wyandotte, or 63rd and Leavenworth Road. So, he's in an area over there where it's very, very spread out. And to even walk to a bus stop is a very, very long walk. His family only has one car. He was 19 years old, almost 20, and did not have a driver's license because his mom only had one car, and she wouldn't take him to learn how to drive because if she wrecked the car, then the dominoes start to fall.
Right.
So it kind of opened this idea to me that, this big barrier is transportation and not necessarily just getting them to a bus, because if you've ever driven over in the Wyandotte area, it's very, very spread out. That is not downtown Kansas City at all. So has there been any discussion about, gas subsidies or ability to help get the people to the school, other than just a bus? Because I found that even in trying to employ that student, our company's in Overland Park. He's at 63rd and Leavenworth Road. Even just to get here, let's say he gets a job, just to get here back and forth, the cost of the gas is crazy. So I don't know. I just think that's a barrier that I just wondered if that's ever been discussed beyond public transit.
Sure. And it's kind of already built into our system and the different types of aid that we offer through the Pell Grant, that not only pays for tuition and fees, depending upon how, what the dollar the students receive, but then also the great work that our foundation does. With Randy sits on our foundation board, and Mary Ricketts, and I think I saw Mary Spangler in here. And they have scholarships available for students, and they can be used for gas or they're educational related expenses. So some of that's already built in. Recently, Kansas passed the Kansas Promise Act. What that does is it pays for all educational expenses, tuition fees, books, training materials, expendable materials, as long as it is a requirement of the entire program, right? Just not one student's needs, but a requirement of the program. The Kansas Promise Act will pay for those expenses. And that leaves more money available for the students if they are working outside, that they don't have to put that towards their education, right? And then they can use it for gas money, transportation money. So the Kansas Promise Act is for high skilled or high demand, high wage occupations. KCC has about 30 programs that fall into this: construction, manufacturing, all the technical courses and programs, welding, HVAC, automation, healthcare, a variety of healthcare programs. So they can really go through at no cost if they're eligible for one of these, one of the programs. And then working with the foundation on receiving scholarships, philanthropic giving, which will help them with other expenses that are not covered through federal financial aid, Kansas Promise Act, or other institutional scholarships that they can apply for. Right now, if any student, really, and any employee, their college ID, so just the badge here, this is access to the transportation, right, to the bus line, so they don't have to pay for bus fees. One of the things that we chose the location downtown is it's 1 block away from the main transit hub at 7th in Minnesota. So if they can get to a bus stop, they can get to that hub, and it's literally walking from Minnesota to State Avenue. And that's the entrance of this new educational center and community health and wellness center. So we're looking at attacking this from multiple fronts. And we choose our locations, really purposefully. And then having their ID is their bus token. That's really beneficial for a lot of students. And like you say, those that have to travel a long ways, we help provide additional financial resources through our foundation and other scholarship opportunities.
Have you explored any partnerships between Lyft and Uber for those students to get them from that bus line, out? I saw Mary's comment about Leavenworth Road. I mean, I was surprised when I started going over there to meet with this young man, how country it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
Discussed.
Yeah. No, we haven't. Our budgets are tight, right? So we'd have to look for philanthropic support in order to be able to afford to do that. So it's a great idea, and I'm sure the Marys are making notes rapidly as we're talking. It's a great idea, but financially that'd be difficult for us. One of the benefits of the community college is the students aren't paying $350 a credit hour to obtain their education, right? Our in-county tuition is $82 a credit hour, right? Tuition and fees total is like 101, 102. So it's 1/3 of the cost of going to a 4-year university. And we give them all that hands-on experience, and we give them that small class size interaction with the instructor experience that isn't offered at the universities, right? So super affordable. Kansas Promise Act pays for about 30 programs. Increase in Pell funding is very helpful. And then the work of our foundation is really important too.
Go over to Jeff.
Good morning, Dr. Mosier. Fascinating career and how you ended up as the president of Kansas City, Kansas Community College. An excellent story. I do a lot of work with four-year institution, recent college graduates on how to get a job, and all that entails resumes, interview prep, interviewing, cover letters, researching jobs, LinkedIn profiles, and so on. And why I do it is I've had a lot of training in it, right, wrong, or indifferent, as well as I think there's a need there that because they really don't know how to do a lot of it. Most of the college career advisors, have been with the institution for such a long time, so they're not, looking for jobs or know how to look for them because they've been at an institution for 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, whatever it is. So just curious on your thoughts, as well as, what is there anything that you do for your student body?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Jeff. So in a lot of our technical, I think maybe in all, but I'll be cautious of using the word all. But our technical programs have what we call a capstone class. So in that capstone, they'll be putting together a portfolio, if that's appropriate, but we also work with them on resume writing skills, just cover, how to write a cover letter, how to build a resume, how to dress for a job interview, how do you sit? How do you communicate with those individuals who are talking with you and trying to learn more about, your technical skill sets and you as a person, and how do you communicate that, right? So we do that. We do have a career center that is being rebuilt at this time because there's an area that I thought we could do better. So we pulled our career center, our placement services in at the same location as our advising. So right from the very beginning, when people are being advised and asking questions about programs, then we can have some form of interaction with them to say, okay, now as you're getting ready to graduate, come see us, and we're going to help walk you through those types of skill sets.
Yeah, that's great, because I don't see that in a lot of prominent four-year institutions in the area. So
Yeah,
congratulations.
thanks. Yeah, we've got a lot of people that are really dedicated to what they do. I mean, at the community college level, paychecks are not as big as they are at the four-year university, but people are here because they're dedicated in what they're doing and trying to help those people who live in our community, and just they have a passion for education and helping people in a very short time frame. We're fortunate. We're really fortunate.
You alluded to it a minute ago that someone with a very modest investment could come out and be in a really good HVAC career, or an electrician career, or a plumber career. And I've had this conversation with a lot of kids that if you don't know what you're going to college for, and you're going to go there for 4 years and then change majors and chase women and party and be there for 5 years and 6 years, and that all sounds fun, except that by year 6, you're $200,000 in debt and you haven't made $1. And that person that came out of your program, he's probably already made $250,000 or more. You're $500,000 behind.
Yeah.
Will you ever catch back up? Have you done anything to chart out that value proposition about just how valuable these careers are, where in 2 years you're making $50,000 a year, but then you become a supervisor and a man. By the time that other person gets their degree, you might already be making $100,000 a year, and they'll never catch you.
Yeah, we're probably not doing as good of a job as we could. in that area. I know there's conversations more at the programmatic levels, and I'm not sure exactly what the counselors have as far as that type of information available. But my gut feeling is it's probably something that we could do better. But we do talk about the value proposition of coming to the community college and getting one of our degrees or certificates and what that earning power is. And we're really focusing on developing success stories, putting those on our website to help tell that story. Because like you said, Randy, they'll start at 50,000 a year. But in many of these areas, they'll make $100,000 a year in maybe less than 5 years, right? Just because of the nature of that industry, what their skill sets are and what their soft skills are if they're looking for advancement. We're looking at creating a new high voltage alignment program. And if you do this 2-year program with us, you'll be making 60 grand a year. And once you get your journeyman's license, you're making 100 grand a year. HVAC plumbing is the same way. There's always going to be a demand for it. There are fewer people in the field working because people are retiring. So we have the graying out of America. Now we have the Great Resignation, and we were already in a huge skills gap. So we're trying to tell that story more and more. And I share when I'm talking with students about what their earning power is when they come out of these programs. It's like, folks, I've got a bachelor's degree in a really scientific field, a high dollar degree. I've got my master's degree, and my master's is in business management and a focus really on the communication part of management. And then I've got a doctorate degree. It took me 20 years to make 100 grand a year, right? And you guys are going to make it in 5 years. So think of that earning power and multiply that times the next 15 years and calculate what that is, how much more income and salary can you put away? Because it's significant. Our graduates come out making higher wages than a lot of bachelor degrees. That's for sure.
And what's really potentially transformative about that is you've got zip codes in your service area where the average household income is under $20,000.
Mm-hmm.
And so think about how life-changing that can be for a whole family for generations, the trajectory you can change. How do you reach those kids in those neighborhoods and those schools and show them opportunity that maybe they've never historically ever seen in their family for 2-3 generations?
Sure. And we do have 7 advisors, that go out and talk with the kids in high school and do a lot of dual and concurrent enrollment opportunities so that they can learn more about it in high school. Because if they get out of high school, you kind of lost them if they don't know that those positions are available, right? Those really career opportunities are available. So we try and hit it hard in the high schools. Right before the pandemic, we started offering classes at Wyandotte High School in the evenings. So it's not high school classes, it's college level coursework. Again, a lot of ESL, a lot of GED down in that downtown core, but also business office professionals, administrative assistants. There's over 200 administrative assistant jobs available in Wyandotte County at almost all times, right? And they can start off at $35,000 a year, and live in the same house that they live in currently, or now they'll have the opportunity for some advancement. But there's there are jobs available just all over in many different sectors. So it's really about educating them, finding out what they want to do, what their interests are, and then kind of directing them into a cluster of programs, right? And then they can narrow that down to what they specifically want to focus on.
Let's go to Steve.
Thank you, Randy, for another great lessons in leadership. And Dr. Mosier, very impressed with your story and the breadth and depth of the relationships that you have built in the community. I'm just wondering if you could talk about, you have a board that has set goals and expectations for the role that you play. I'm curious to know what your measures of success the board has identified. And then if you have some personal goals, given the breadth and depth of those relationships you have in the community, I'm just curious what those goals are. Thank you again for your time this morning.
Oh, absolutely. I enjoy being here and just trying to share whatever I can. So the measure of success between the board and I, the college when I got here, we created a new strategic plan, which has 4 key areas. So, it's student success, employee engagement, community engagement. Oh gosh, there's one more. I'm sorry, I can't think about it. And my goals are set in those 4 areas of our strategic plan, and specific initiatives are identified that the board wants me to accomplish. I actually set it up so I do a mid-year evaluation on my progress to my goals for that 1 year. And then I do an end of the year report on my progress on those goals, and I submit that to the board. So just over the Christmas break, I got together and I put together my report and sent it off to the board. So they're reviewing that now, and they'll measure it on a 5-step Likert scale and also open writing. And then we sit down together and we'll have an evaluation. We're in the middle of the year, and what have I accomplished? Where have I excelled? Where have I fallen short? And what am I going to do if I'm not where I should be in that specific goal between January and June, right? And we'll talk about ideas on how we make sure that we accomplish those goals. So I have a measurement every 6 months, and that was by my doing, not necessarily the board's doing, versus just an annual evaluation. I'm a mover. I like to be moving. I move fast, and we've got a lot of things going on right now. Well, when I got here, I'll step back a little bit. When I got here, interviewing with the board and accepting the position, they said we need student housing. Because we rent or leased apartments from a neighbor apartment complex from us, which has gone beyond their life. So I said, we need student housing. We need new programs. We need something. How do we serve the east side of Wyandotte County? Our service region is also Leavenworth County. We serve it, but it's not a taxing district. And we need to have a better location in Leavenworth. So right as I look out the window right now, we have a 260 bed, 105,000 square foot student housing complex going up right now. It's a $20 million project. It's a special revenue bond. It will be paid for with the students' annual lease as they're here. And that will open in June of 22. So, that one's well in progress on working on downtown. We've got this $70 million project going right now, which really kind of goes high above and beyond what we're normally looking at. You know, the college is committed $10 million to this, and we're also saying we're not going to raise mill levy for this. So doing the capital campaign circuit right now, trying to raise that additional money. So we're at about 26 million right now. My goal was to be at 35 million, but there are some timing situations because of what is taking place in the federal government. The property that we're looking at is on State Avenue between 6th Street and 7th Street. As we got into the project, about 6 months into it, we learned that the church on the corner is a county historical landmark. It's not a state or national or anything. So we had to go through that process, and it's been boarded up. It's a church that's been boarded up for 25 to 30 years. And it's just rotting from the inside out. But we had to go through that process, which is, you know, a lot of real lively conversations, a lot of passionate conversations around that. That set us back a little bit in our fundraising because people wanted to make sure that that was resolved from the philanthropic arena, you know, before people commit 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, $10 million. Sunderland Foundation was very gracious, and they've already committed $10 million to the project. I have a congressional, I'm trying to think where discretionary funding, otherwise known as earmark. You know, we have a $2 million earmark that went through Representative David's office for advanced manufacturing equipment for the downtown facility. Well, that's in the national fiscal budget right now. It went through the House Defense Subcommittee, and it was passed. It was the only community college project that was passed in the United States through the defense sector. So there's $2 million, but we don't have a national budget yet, right? So we should have one by February 15th. So you know, we're feeling pretty solid that when we have a national budget, then that $2 million will become available. But it should have been available last year, right? So we would have added that to our 26. That'd put us at 28. We have a $3 million EDA grant for brick and mortar for downtown for the advanced manufacturing and the construction portion of that building. You know, so that puts us at 31 million. And then some of the philanthropic support would have easily put us at 35 million. But we'll still receive those funds. It's just in this quarter versus last quarter. And then working with the Spark committee at the state level, you know, the state has received $1.7 billion in ARPA money for allocation. So we're working with the Sparks executive committee and the subcommittee on health and education for a $30 million request. And we'll have that submitted here probably before January. We're just waiting for the website application form to be built for that. So really specific goals, and the board does a very specific review of my progress on those goals, which I do appreciate. Where are we with our technical programs that are at the high schools and at the college? What's the current state of those? There is demand for those technical areas, and it is becoming more well known. So we have what we call is concurrent enrollment and dual enrollment opportunities for high school students. So in the technical programs, we receive about 350 to 400 students per day from the high schools that come to our tech center and are enrolled in one of those programs. And we work with the high schools on busing them back and forth. We're expanding that. Some of the high schools do have their own programs on site. So, and then if they develop the program so it meets the requirements of the college as well, then, and if their teachers meet the certification, then they can get, that's what we call dual enrollment, where they'll receive high school credit and college credit at the same time. There's money that's going into the technical programs now that has not been there in the past because there's such a demand for skilled workforce right now. So I'd say the current status is pretty strong. We can continue to grow that. The downtown program, we currently have a 1-year construction program. It's residential in nature, but we're expanding that into the commercial side as well. So it'll be a 2-year program. It'll be at the downtown center and working with USD 500 and then expanding to the other districts. Juniors and seniors in high school, if they're interested in commercial construction technology, they'll no longer go to their high school, brick and mortar school, right? They're going to come directly to this downtown center and we'll do the technical programming for them. And then we also do the general education, and their gen eds will reverse articulate back to the high school. So in the situation where their peers may just be graduating from high school, these individuals will graduate from high school. They'll also receive an Associate of Applied Science in Commercial Construction Technology. They will also have partnered and interned with companies like J. Dunn, McGowan Gordon, Burns and Mac, and others. So they'll have those skill sets and internships. So they'll graduate high school making $50,000 plus when their friends may just be graduating from high school. So a lot of partnerships with the high schools in those programs. You know, we're investing heavily in adding more opportunities like the commercial construction portion of this. Instead of manufacturing, we're moving to advanced manufacturing or really automation engineering because of all the warehousing and distribution centers that we have here and thousands of jobs that are needed. So our new program is going to have a lot of automation in it. It's going to have programmable logic controllers, CNCs, hydraulics, pneumatics, programming, and how to make an operation like Amazon or the new Urban Outfitters, where, you know, robots and such are going through and picking and pulling merchandise, you know, and putting it into a bin, and it goes to the front, gets packaged and shipped and out. So a lot of money and a lot of attention going into increasing or enhancing some of those programs. And then we go out and teach at the high schools as well, both gen ed and in those technical programs. So I'd say it's pretty strong, and there's a lot of opportunity that still waits.
What about the lifelong learner aspect of that? Folks want to send themselves back, or people from their teams, you know, people in their businesses, you know, so this isn't just entry level, get them and hire them, but you want to keep developing your teams. What kind of mix do you have there of businesses that are doing that are sending folks back to just help them continually develop?
Yeah, sure. So that's an area that's growing for us. I'll use one example, IMT, which is an industrial maintenance technician. That is a customized training program that we work with business and industry. So if they have employers that need to be skilled up in that area, they'll come and do that with us and then go back. So it enhances their skill set in their career field. But then we also have community education. If someone who just wants to come and learn some other program or some other skill, or maybe they just want to come and they want to learn how to weld, right? They can come and do that as well. So it's a mix of full programs being offered, and then also individualized courses. Our continuing ed department that we have here at the college.
what, you talked a little bit about the more modest tuition rate as opposed to going to one of the big schools, but then there's financial aid on that. How much financial aid does your average student get, and what do they really end up having to spend to get this degree?
Sure, sure. I was actually pulling that up a little bit ago, so I'm going to look at those numbers real quick. So 54% of our students receive federal grants, and that is, you refer to that as the Pell Grant system. So 54% of our students, 65% of our students receive some form of financial aid, right? Whether it's grants, institutional grants and scholarships, or local philanthropic support. So 65%. That's a big number, and those will, because our tuition is so low, that it pays for tuition and fees for that. The new Pell number, I think, is about $5,500 a year. So that would pay for our tuition and fees are $3,000. So that gives them money to pay for their degree, but then also some of those ancillary expenses that come along with someone trying to get a degree in higher ed, and like gas, as Jeff mentioned, or childcare, or transportation of some sort. So they'll have some money available for that. But more than half of our students rely on financial aid or institutional grants to help get them through.
Another thing comes to mind, there's a couple folks on here I know that run, great charities. Are there ways for charities to partner with some of the kids in the programs, create internships, opportunities to serve, because their career path might be to go down a charitable path organization wise?
Yeah, sure. So we love to build those opportunities whenever we can. So through the foundation, scholarships can be set up, and they can have special parameters put around them that it is for a student that is going through program A, B, or C. There could be some other parameters that the philanthropic organization or the charity wants the students who are receiving those scholarships to have a focus on. So that works real well. As we get our new career and placement service up and running more, we're building out an online job portal. So it'd be job seekers and employers that can meet up online to see what kind of connection can be made there. I would say for right now, if there's a philanthropic support that anyone is thinking about, and if they want to focus on a specific program or anything, reach out to Mary Spangler. We can get her, Mary might want to put your email address in the chat or something, and she can help get that set up.
Well, what you're doing is awesome. And when you think about, one, the need out there in our economy for skilled workers, and two, just those financials, as you talked about, of what someone could be making in year 1 and year 2 and year 5, it would be a shame for kids not to hear about the value this could create in their life. It could really change the trajectory of their life and their kids' lives by having access to these kinds of programs. So what you're doing is powerful.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's a passion of mine. So we're doing some great things, and there's always things we can do more. And I'm an advocate for setting those goals really high and just doing what needs to be done to make it happen. So fortunate to have a great team, working with me, and we enjoy what we're doing, and we're changing lives, and changing the trajectory of mentioned, Randy, for generations.
Yeah.
You just have to get that one start in those families that earn some sort of college degree or certificate so that their family can see that, and what that has provided their family, and that will generate, change that cycle of generational poverty in a lot of our communities.
Well, thanks for what you and the team there are doing. It's awesome, and it's going to make a big difference in folks' lives. So keep up that great work.
Good. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on today. And if there's any follow-up questions, you can email me as well. I'll throw it in the chat here before we log off, but thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, let's get your email there in case folks, and if businesses here want to partner with someone at the school on particular programs for employees or recruiting, who should they start with?
So I'm sorry, say that one more time. I was
If folks here with businesses want to partner with the school on training and recruiting, is there a particular area where they would go to start? Or
you can contact me directly and I'll help get that set up. We're doing that with several companies right now.
awesome.
So yeah, sounds good. Well, thanks for having me on. Look forward to it. I'll come back. We get this downtown center built. Come back and let you know how that's going.
Awesome. Look forward to seeing it.
All right.
Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll see you next week.
All right. Take care.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Bye, everybody.